First, fast, accurate. You're watching WSBT-22 News at 5:30.
The situation in Nepal is overwhelming. That's what the Prime Minister says after two massive earthquakes in less than 3 weeks. The 7.3 quake on Tuesday is responsible for at least 96 deaths. Now, there's also a search going on for 6 missing U.S. Marines. Their helicopter went down during relief efforts. More than 8,000 people died from the first quake last month. Hundreds of thousands are homeless right now. An Elkhart mother and daughter just got home after experiencing the tremors firsthand.
WSBT-22's Zach Crenshaw sat down with one of the women, and Zach, she says she was in the right place at the right time.
That's right, Jennifer. Not something you'd expect to hear from a Hoosier in Nepal during one of the worst natural disasters in recent history. But Missy Beeks says the day before, she and her mother were driving for hours around cliffs and probably wouldn't be home in Elkhart if they had been there when the quakes hit. In a matter of seconds, Nepal began to shake, then crumble.
I've never been so scared in my whole life.
On what was supposed to be their last day of their trip around Asia, Missy and her mother, Loa, were walking around Kathmandu when the ground began to move.
And next thing I know, like, a power line had fallen and hit me in the head, and it was in front of me. And my mom and our friend Raj were on the other side of the power line, and like they had fallen down, and mom had hit her head, and so they're trying to stand back up, and finally, like, things, you know, the earthquake stopped at the moment.
Just feet away from Missy, a clock tower fell.
Had I been any closer to that, had we been anywhere else, yeah.
You might not be here.
Yeah.
Despite the near-death experience, Missy says she had a sense things would be all right.
So I had lost my flip-flop as soon as the earthquake happened, and so I'm walking along with only one shoe on, and, you know, there's rubble everywhere, and you know, I knew I needed a shoe. So we were holding hands, walking along, and all of a sudden this pink flip-flop appeared right in my path, and it was my size, left foot, so I just slipped it on and kept walking.
Missy and her mom slept outside that night and finally caught a flight 2 days after their original one. Missy says the whole situation still feels surreal.
I can't even wrap my head around it. It's just crazy to think about how many people have passed.
And she says she feels fortunate to be back home.
What has to happen for everything to be aligned that 2 people from Elkhart, Indiana are in Nepal, downtown, at that time, you know, that this happens. An earthquake that hasn't happened in 81 years happens. It's a weird moment of, of why you?
Missy says her friends and the people she knew in Nepal are all okay, but one friend's house is beginning to crumble after that second earthquake. Missy says since Nepal is such a poor country, they need all the help they can get, which is why relief efforts are so important.
Yeah, what a terrifying situation for all of them. How did they get back?
You know, their flight actually took 2 days. It was delayed 2 days, and they had a ticket written on a random piece of paper, and they said the airport was absolutely crazy. There were people all outside of it waiting for days just to get on a flight. Luckily, they had a friend who spoke the language and got them onto that flight, and they were able to get back safely. So
Travel couldn't have been easy.
A relief to be back in Elkhart today.
Yeah, glad to be back home, that's for sure.